Hi stars, this is Luminousz Star. Welcome to the channel. All of my current subscribers, you already know how special you are to me. Here it comes. Mwah! Thank you guys and gals so much for your subscription, and I want to thank you and congratulate you for sharing your stories. Our star family is growing and our community is growing, and this is something to celebrate. When you share your stories, not only do you motivate and inspire me to thrive forward, but you also inspire others who resonate with your stories to thrive forward. If this is your first time joining the Luminousz Star, welcome to the channel. And should you become a part of our star family, I say welcome and thank you for your subscription. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell. Current stars, please make sure that you have selected the notification bell. That way you're not missing any videos that come out. Everyone who's watching today, I want to go ahead and thank you for your time. Today we're going to be talking about women, ladies, girls, females, right? who are unloved daughters. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. Please mind that description box below for the details to today's video. Don't forget to like and share today's video. Okay, so you know, one of the things that unloved daughters face is that they seem to be in a tug of war for their mother's love and her affection, maybe even her approval and validation. This can prove to be a mistake, especially after the unloved daughter becomes an adult. So as children, naturally, the child wants the love and affection and the approval. You know, mom is like God to children, all right? Now this is natural. However, when the unloved daughter grows up, she begins to realize a few things. Number one, she begins to realize that her mama is not there for her in ways that she always needed her to be. Number two, she realizes that now that she's an adult, she cannot realistically expect her mother to be there for her in the way that she wanted her to be and needed her to be when she was a little girl. Okay, so that's something that those two things are realized pretty early on. And maybe her mother is married to a cluster B personality or a narcissist. Maybe the mother is a codependent. Sometimes it is the mother who has the narcissistic personality. You know, sometimes it's the mother who has the cluster B personality. And then sometimes she is married. Okay, the mother is married to someone who's also having a cluster B personality and a narcissistic personality. One of the things that I've noticed is that it is very rare that two narcissists will marry each other and they are of the same caliber or the same type. For instance, a narcissist can marry another narcissist. However, one of them is going to be covert and the other one is going to be overt. Okay, so I've never seen two overt narcissists become married and stay married for a long period of time. In the comment section, please let me know if you personally know someone who's married to a narcissist. Okay, if you know a narcissist that's married to another narcissist and they're both covert or they're both overt narcissists, I mean of the same caliber. If you know this personally, not something that we Googled, not something that was read in a book, okay? Do you know this personally? Please leave that in the comment section. I've never known two narcissists of the same caliber to be married to one another, have children, and stay that way for a long period of time. And again, you know, we learn here on the Luminousz Star. So if you know this personally, please put that in the comment section so we all can become aware of this. However, usually an unloved daughter will notice something, and that is that if the mother, regardless if she's the codependent or the narcissist or the cluster B personality, she's loyal to her spouse, which usually is either a codependent or a narcissist or one who has a cluster B personality. So where am I going with this? What I'm saying is, this is what is making the dysfunctional family a dysfunctional family. You have a lot of people that don't have the tools to have a healthy relationship. So a dysfunctional family consists of a lot of family members who are not relating to one another in a very positive way. Okay, so they're really not growing together. There are people who are growing, don't get me wrong, but it's usually at a snail's pace and they're not really having a deep connection. See, there's a difference between a mother and daughter who have a deep connection and a mother and daughter who are tied together, like as if they're trauma bonded. Okay, there's the way that they're tied together, and then there's a way that they're connected. It's very different. Unloved daughters, what they wake up and they realize is that they are tied to their mothers in a very disturbing way, such as trauma bonding. Okay, and some unloved daughters, when they figure this out, naturally, even though they may be 30 years old now, they may be 40, they may be 50, okay, or the bottom line is they're adults now, right? They still naturally desire the deep connection. See, they know that they're tied to their mom. Maybe it's trauma bonding. So they're tied to their mother in a dysfunctional, maybe in a toxic way. However, naturally, the daughter, she still desires to be connected to her mother in a very deep and meaningful way. So once she figures that out, she may slumber into depression. She may have anxiety and not really understand the root of it, or what's the origin, what's the cause of her having anxiety, panic attacks, and being very fearful of certain things, such as hurting her mom. All of that can tie into her being in a state of anxiety. So the unloved daughter may be on prescription medication for anxiety. The bottom line is, she is responding. She is naturally responding to something that's not natural. And that is having a trauma bond to her mother, or being tied to her mother in a very dysfunctional way. That's not natural. It happens. It's just not natural. So once the unloved daughter realizes this, again, she may have a whole host of things that's going on in her life that reflects that she is trauma bonded to her mother. She is not deeply connected to her mother in a very meaningful way, because the mother set the tone for the relationship, for the daughter-mother relationship, for the parent-child relationship. It is the mother who sets the tone, because the child doesn't carry the mother inside of them for 9 months. It is the mother who carries the child inside of her womb for 9 months or so, right? Sometimes it's amazing how some of us unloved daughters, we forget this. It's amazing how sometimes we forget a lot of things. Sometimes there are certain things that we just don't realize, such as what I just stated. It is the mother who sets the tone for the relationship. It is never the other way around. That's impossible. How can a fetus set the tone for the parent-child relationship? Can't happen. How can the sperm set the tone for the mother-child relationship? It cannot happen. Even when it goes to the fathers, right? The father can't look at the sperm and say, well, you set the tone for the relationship, right? That's impossible. Okay, let me get back on the subject. Mothers and daughters. The bottom line is this, and I hope that what I'm sharing with a lot of you today who may see herself as an unloved daughter, I hope I'm delivering a lot of messages to you today that will give you food for thought and also comfort your soul. All right, and maybe even uplift your spirit. I want you to know that you never set the tone for the relationship with your mom. Your mother set the tone. Now, I'm not saying that you ought to demonize your mom. I'm not even saying that you ought to seek revenge. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I would like for you to understand, and I'm speaking from experience, that once you become an adult, it's going to fare you very well to start taking a different perspective on that relationship with your mom. Look at it differently. Okay, it's going to help you out a lot to really take off those rose-colored glasses. Take them off and really look at your mom the way you have never looked at her before. Take a look at yourself in a way that you never looked at yourself before. This, believe it or not, is going to help you thrive forward a lot more smoothly. I mean, there's going to be challenges, but it's going to help you to thrive forward a lot more smoothly if you take off those rose-colored glasses and stop idealizing your mom and no longer punish yourself because you had a volatile, or dysfunctional or very unpleasant mother-daughter relationship. Stop blaming yourself for having a volatile, a toxic, a dysfunctional, and an unpleasant relationship with your mom. It's not your fault. Okay, it sounds cliche, but it really is. A daughter, she may begin to realize that the mother is very loyal to someone else, that someone else is her husband. Her husband may be a covert narcissist, an overt narcissist. He may have a cluster B personality. He may be the codependent in the relationship. And it may be your mother who's the one having the narcissistic personality or the cluster B personality. Okay, so the bottom line is there's a dysfunctional relationship between those two. But here's what I want you to understand is that the mother and her husband or her lover or her romantic partner, right? When she chooses him or her over the daughter, 9 times out of 10 chances, it is due to the reality that the mother and her partner have a deep understanding of one another. Notice I didn't say they have a deep connection. They don't have a deep connection. They are also tied to one another. When it comes to her daughter, she's tied to her daughter. That would be maybe you who's watching. She's tied to you in a dysfunctional way. Yet she's not deeply connected to you, even though she carried you in her womb for 9 months, 8 months, 10 months or so, right? When it comes to her romantic partner or partners, your mother is also tied to them in a traumatic, maybe there's a traumatic bonding there. There's also the lack of the deep connection. So they're tied also to their partner in a very dysfunctional way. So there's a lot of ties going on here, yet there's no deep connection. This is what I really want the unloved daughters to understand today or tonight, wherever you may be. There's no deep connection. This is why it hurts a lot. This is why you continue to long for your mother or to desire your mother in a way that a lot of us are going to have to realize we cannot have our mothers in that kind of way anymore. Number one, because we're an adult now. Number two, because the mother lacks the tools to deeply connect to us. Remember, she set the tone when she carried you. She set the tone. She didn't have the tools then to deeply connect to you. However, there was a tie. The connection was not completely formed. When she carried you in her womb, the connection, the potential to connect to you deeply was there. Make no mistake, it was there. It just wasn't completed. It was interrupted. One of the reasons why the deep connection is not coming into full circle, when the mother carries the child for 9 months, she may be depressed. She may be anxious. Okay, she may be suffering a lot of things. Whatever the mother experiences when she's pregnant, the child experiences because she is in, or he is in, the mother's womb. So since we're talking about unloved daughters, I want to say when she was in her mother's womb, she was also experiencing a lot of what her mother was experiencing. If her mother was depressed, if her mother was anxious, if her mother had volatile relationships with the father or, other people in the family, or just in general, if she was if she was a drug user, if she was an alcoholic, the child in her womb also was affected. So the deep connection was seriously retarded, or it was interrupted. It didn't fully develop. So by the time you were born, again, it wasn't a deep connection. The potential for the deep connection was there, but it just never came to its full fruition or completion. It didn't bloom, it didn't blossom. So it was interrupted. However, the tie was there. So after your mom gave birth to you, yes, the tie was there. The connection had ceased. The tie was there though. So this is why, again, sometimes we feel like we're still reaching for our moms, even though we're 30 years old now, we're 40 or whatever, we're still reaching for mom. We still want the deep connection. That's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't beat yourself up for that. It is the tie that you want to sever. And at the same time, you want the deep connection to take its place. This is what a lot of unloved daughters figure out. And they also figure out that it's probably not going to happen. Because it takes the mother to want to come to peace with the daughter. In other words, to come to a meeting ground, okay? The mother, if she is still operating the way she used to, if she still has the same mentality she did when she was carrying you, that's why it's just probably not going to happen. That deep connection is probably not going to happen. Okay, so this is what I really wanted to point out today in the video. Unloved daughters, what they come to find out is that it's the trauma bonding, it's that toxic tie that they want to sever. But in its place, they want the deep connection that they never had with their mom. There's a big difference between deep connection and trauma bonding or a toxic tie. Very different. Two different ballparks, two different games, two different worlds. Sometimes we get that crisscross. Sometimes we don't see that very clearly. And I understand that. With all the shenanigans and all the drama, all the chaos, we're not seeing that very clearly. However, when it comes to the mom choosing other people that she's also toxically tied to, or she's tied to in a toxic way, or there's trauma bonding with her romantic partners, because that's very possible. We see that a lot. Whatever it is, the bottom line is there's a lot of toxic ties going on and not a lot of deep connections in a meaningful way that's going on. So this is why it hurts a lot. But I really wanted to point that out, and I certainly hope that that is
our home, incubator of life, through our lines.
Hello there, this is Luminousz. Topics of discussion: waiting and or pursuing the narcissist for validation, apology, and explanation for why he or she behaves as they do is a sign that you are distracted in your healing and thriving forward. Next topic: obtaining closure is a personal journey having nothing to do with the narcissist and or the cluster B personality. Last topic: seeking the narcissist to help with obtaining closure is another sign of holding on to the idea of the narcissist instead of facing reality that one never needed but desired the narcissist to love him or her. Let's move forward. First point: those who have or currently have relationships with those who have had a narcissistic personality have come to learn by trial and error that he or she does not take responsibility for themselves. Waiting for apologies, validation, and explanations for the narcissist's behavior is a sign that one is still idealizing the unhealthy relationship and possibly the narcissist. Next point: narcissists tend to seek out for opportunities to insult, reject, and character assassinate others for sport and a strong sense of control. Those who are choosing to go low contact instead of no contact may be gradually moving to go eventually no contact. However, continuing to invest in unhealthy relationships with narcissists is never a good idea, especially while seeking to obtain closure. So narcissists, they're always on the prowl for not only source supply, but to reject and insult and character assassinate others. This gives them a strong sense of control, and it also keeps their false self-image fed. Okay, it keeps their false self-image intact. So those of us who are in unhealthy relationships with him or her, it's probably not a good idea, especially when we're talking about going no contact and we are talking about thriving forward. It's not a good idea to keep in contact with him or her. Some people, when they say going no contact, what they really mean is low contact. They still call. They still visit the narcissist. They still have some contact with the narcissist. So really, they were thinking of going no contact, but what actually ended up happening is that he or she still has some type of relationship with the narcissist. In other words, they're still contacting them by social media. They're still accepting or making the calls to him or her. They're still over their house or they have them visit them. So that's low contact. That's no contact. So when a person is thinking about no contact, it's just a good idea to make it absolutely no contact instead of low contact. Let's move forward. Attempting to thrive forward and commit to the healing process can become more challenging if one should decide to weather the storms of shenanigans and tactics of the narcissist for source supply, a sense of control and domination in the unhealthy relationship. This can prove to be a distraction and possibly cause a setback in the healing process. Pause. So a person who's talking about going no contact and thriving forward and concentrating on their healing, well, they really can't do that if they have the narcissist in his or her head, yet alone in their ear or in their life. They can't do this because the narcissist will blow holes all in their support system. The narcissist is not a good support base. The narcissist will make sure that that person suffers setbacks. So anyone who is contemplating going no contact, first of all, make sure it is absolutely no contact. Okay, just a suggestion. Also, a person who is thinking about their own healing process, it's a good idea to spend as little time as possible contemplating whether or not you want to continue to have a relationship with the narcissist or not. See, a lot of people, they go back and forth in their minds and in their hearts too, whether or not it's a good idea to go no contact from the narcissist. A person who is committing to his or her own healing, it is just no question. It's not a hard decision to make at all because he or she knows that they are better off to committing to their own healing and to continue to thrive forward without the narcissist. So when a person is attempting to thrive forward and commit to their own healing process, one sign that you know he or she is doing that is that he or she has gone no contact. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just suggesting that if you are committed to your own healing process, it's probably not going to be much of a question for you whether or not it's a good idea to continue to have a relationship with the narcissist or not. Next point. A support base is to be designed to help one to continue to thrive forward, learn how to have healthy relationships, and live a fulfilling life as much as one is able to do. The narcissist is not a great support base because he or she will not stop with the tactics for source supply. The shenanigans will not stop just because the source supply decides to invest in a support base. Leaving the unhealthy relationship behind will not be easy. However, it may be something to seriously consider due to how damaging the dysfunctional relationship can be on a person. So the damaging effects or the aftermath of having the relationship with the narcissist is very dire, if not serious. So when a person is thinking about their own healing process, that's something to keep in mind. What are the damaging effects from having the relationship with the cluster B personality and or narcissist? What have you suffered? What have you gone through as a result of maintaining contact with him or her? It's just something to really think about because the dire consequences are just that. They're dire. They're very serious. Some people have suffered trauma due to having a relationship with the cluster B personality and or the narcissist. Just something to think about. Next point. Obtaining closure has nothing to do with narcissists or the cluster B personality.
To include him or her in the healing process may prove to be a big mistake. Many are convinced that the cooperation of the narcissist and or cluster B personality is necessary in order to thrive forward. This only gives him or her more of your personal power to feed off of. This may also encourage more shenanigans for source supply from the narcissist. He or she does not feel any sorrow or remorse for their behavior towards others. Let's move forward. Continuing to expect validation, explanation, and or apologies from the narcissist is a sign of holding on to idealizing him or her. The poor quality of the relationship is overlooked as well. One must be willing to face the reality of the poor quality of the relationship along with the fact that the narcissist's behavior is unacceptable and toxic. Next point. By discontinuing to idealize the narcissist and the relationship can be a great start to obtaining closure without the cooperation of the narcissist. Narcissists usually overly depend upon others to be reactionary and emotional due to their shenanigans in order to feed off of his or her energy field. Choosing to continue to hold on to the idea of the narcissist is a must in order to obtain closure, provides him or her the bonding necessary to continue to be supplied. When you let go of the idea that you may have of the narcissist, in other words, facing reality of the relationship, and who the narcissist really is, it is a game changer. This can help you to provide the closure you needed instead of looking for the cooperation of the narcissist. Because when a person looks for the validation, the apology, the explanation, this only encourages the narcissist to obtain more source supply, because then they think they have you hooked. Because as long as you are looking to him or her to obtain the closure, again, that gives your personal power over to him or her. Let's move forward. Tools. Take steps to break the low energy cycle by first accepting that the narcissist more than likely will never change. Second tool. Closure begins with you, not the narcissist. You only desired the narcissist. You never needed him or her to gain closure. Let the grieving begin. Next tool, remember that your life has purpose. Absolutely. The narcissist will make sure that you never realize this. Last tool, increase your knowledge about narcissism, childhood trauma, and unhealthy relationships before joining any support group. Some people jump right into joining a support group that claims to know something about narcissism, but they don't know anything about narcissism. So before joining a support group, I just want to suggest arming yourself with some knowledge. Do your own research before joining any support group that claims to know something about narcissism. So when you do join a support group, you already have some knowledge. So when a person who's the coordinator of the support group, when they start providing you information, you can compare it to what you already know. Not only your personal experience, but from your own research. You can compare. Some people have joined so-called support groups only to find out that the person that was coordinating the support group was maybe a cult leader. I'm not trying to spook anyone. This is real. So when you arm yourself with your own knowledge, your own research, this will help you out tremendously when you seek to join support groups. There are some support groups out there that unfortunately are providing false advertisement. They're not there to help. They're not there to provide any support from those who are seeking to thrive forward past narcissistic abuse. The first tool, take steps to break the low energy cycle. I did a few videos about this. One of the things that a lot of us do, regardless of what type of relationship we had before, we take the energy from that relationship and we bring it with us onto the next relationship. So if your last romantic relationship, or really your last relationship, was that with a narcissist, guess what? You're going to take that energy with you. And this is unconscious, by the way. So don't beat yourself up. A lot of us do this. So clear the low energy cycle or break the low energy cycle before starting, especially a new romance. Before doing that, Clear that low energy cycle. Get rid of it. Break the low energy cycle. Because when you start a new romance or when you start another relationship, all the energy residue from the relationship with the narcissist, you will bring it unconsciously over to the new relationship, and it will overcloud it. This happens all too often. So take the steps to break the low energy cycle. So the first step to breaking the low energy cycle, again, is to tell the truth. Face reality. Yeah, it's probably going to be painful. So this is also why it is good to have a support base. So breaking the low energy cycle, first, be very clear about what the reality is. What was the relationship? Answer the question, what was the purpose of that relationship? No matter how volatile and painful it was, there was a purpose for that relationship. The first question to ask, if you want to break the low energy cycle, is what was the purpose of that relationship with the narcissist? Once you answer that question, then you are less likely to repeat the mistake of investing in another relationship with another cluster B personality. Next tool, closure begins with you, not the narcissist. Absolutely. The narcissist wants you to think that you need them for something, whether that is for an apology, a validation, or an explanation of why they treated you the way they did, or why their behavior is what it is. Okay? They want you to depend on them for something. The narcissist wants to make sure that he or she can be the god of your pleasure and your pain. Once you realize that closure begins with you, it is game over for the narcissist, and it's a game changer for you, because the narcissist has nothing that they can use against you anymore. They have nothing to pull you in. You are thriving forward. You have gained closure without the narcissist. The narcissist never wants you to get to that point. They will do whatever they can. They will say whatever they have to in order for you not to realize that you can gain closure without them. Which leads me to the third tool. Remember that your life has purpose. The narcissist does not want you to realize this, because that goes right into you gaining closure for yourself without the narcissist. Once you realize that your life has purpose, then that's going to automatically help you to realize that you really don't need the narcissist's cooperation to gain closure, because your life has purpose, meaning you have say in whether or not the narcissist is a part of it or not. So they will remind you of this. The narcissist does not want you to realize that the closure does start with you, and you don't need them for it. You may want them for it, but you don't need them for the closure. The narcissist does not want you to realize this, because once you realize that your life has purpose and you can start your own closure and you can get your own closure without the narcissist, then it is game over for them, and it is a game changer for you. And you will be well on your way to continuing to thrive forward and be committed to your own healing process. Having said all that, let's move forward. References and resources. You can find the references and resources in the description box below. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm Luminousz. Stay tuned for more videos. Don't forget to like and share this video.